Good morning, dear students. I hope that you are all well. Today we're going to study the second part of chapter 6, morphology and the morphemes. So we need to know something about the morphemes generally. What is it? Here we have a general and abstract definition. It is the smallest syntactic unit, and the morphemes as well vary in size. But uh, you need to know that the morphemes are the smallest units in a language that have a meaning. They can be classified as a free morphemes, and by the free morphemes I do mean the morphemes which can stand alone as words, or bound morphemes which must be combined with another morpheme to form a complete word. So there is a point that should be mentioned, that neither syllables nor length are any guide to their identification. It means that the syllables and the length will not help us in order to identify the morphemes. But there is another essential criterion, is that a morpheme cannot be cut up into a smaller syntactic segments. We have some examples, and we need to know how many morphemes in this sentence. The sleep, walking, albatross, chanted a dreamy lullaby. So if you notice here, we have the sleep, walking, albatross, chanted a dreamy, and lullaby. Every single this sentence, that we need to study the structure of this sentence in terms of the morphology. So there, albatross, a, lullaby are all single morphemes because none of them can be syntactically split up further. So we wouldn't be able to, for example, to split the word of sleep. We wouldn't be able to say sleep and then eep, or th and e, okay? But it can be applied on other words like chant, ed, okay? Let's see what we have. We have albatross. Don't have, that alba and the tros, okay? We split them into two, but this cannot be applied, okay? Don't have any other rule to play in the syntax of English, okay? They exist only as part of the single unit, which is albatross, okay? Again, we need to concentrate on the morphemes identification. On the other hand, if you notice that we have more words in this sentence, for example, we have chanted and dreamy, as I said. Each of these two words consists of two morphemes. Each of these two words consists of two morphemes. Chant is found in words such as chanting, chants, and is also as a word by itself. So you can find this word as a chant or chanting or chants, right? While ed, the other morpheme is found in wanted, played, closed, battered, and so on. The sleepwalking consists of three morphemes because the sleep, walk, and ing are all found elsewhere in other words, right? Let's see more examples and to notice what we have. No upper limit to the number of morphemes per word. What do you mean by that? It means theoretically there is no upper limit to the number of the morphemes per word, and that's why we have the longest ever word in English. We have anti-disestablishmentarianism, for example, has at least 6 anti-disestablishmentarian and then ism. So this word would be anti-disciplinarianism, right? And if you need to know the meaning of this word, it is a political movement that developed in the 19th century in opposition to disestablishmentarianism, the Liberal Party's efforts to establish or remove the Church of England as the official state Church of England, Ireland, and Wales. The recognition of morphemes, how the morphemes can be recognized. Linguists identify morphemes by comparing a wide variety of utterances. They look for utterances which are partially similar or the same. For example, we have these two sentences, and then we need to make the comparison between these two sentences. The dinosaur sniffed arrogantly and plopped for words. Okay, this is one word, for words, right? The dinosaur grunted loudly and edged backwards, right? So we need to make a comparison between these two sentences as this criterion is the adopted one by making a comparison between a wide variety of utterances. So the partial similarity between sniffed, grunted, and edged in it, I mean that if you notice that sniffed, okay, this is the verb, and then plodded, and then grunted, and then edged, okay, it enables one to isolate the segment ed. So we can isolate the segment ed, and the partial similarity between arrogantly and loudly, and between backwards and forwards, makes it possible to isolate l, y, and words. So I can isolate this word arrogant, okay, and then l, y, and loud, and then l, y, okay, and between backwards and forwards. So here it is. We have what? We have a common or a similar parts, okay, between these two words, right? We have one basic technique. Not all morphemes are as easily segmentable as these examples, but the identification of morphemes is done wholly by means of this one basic technique. As I said again and again, the comparison of partially similar utterances. Thus, morphemes are recognized by looking for partial similarities between the words, as we have done for these two sentences in the last slide. Okay, let's see what are the types of morpheme. We need to know what are the basic types of morpheme. We do have basically free morphemes and bound morphemes. But what do we mean by the free morphemes? Those morphemes which can occur by themselves as whole words. And the bound ones, those such as anti, ed, okay, ed or ly, which must be attached to another word. So that's why we have the free morphemes and the bound morphemes. And bear in mind that the bound morphemes are of two main types. What are these? Basically, we do have the inflectional morphemes and derivational morphemes. Okay, look at this example and consider it. The owl looked up at the cloudy sky. The owl looked up at the cloudy sky. Apparently, both looked and cloudy have a similar makeup. How they are, I mean, that have a common characteristics, these two words, as we have this one, and that looked, okay, and then a cloud. But the problem will be what? With the attached, I mean that with the bound morphemes, have a similar makeup, have a similar structure, consisting of one free morpheme, which is look, and cloud, okay, followed by one bound one, which is ed and y, right? So the bound morphemes differ in nature. How they are different in nature? We do have inflectional morpheme like ed on the end of the word locked, because it provides further information about an existing lexical item. Look, I mean that the main verb look. In this case, indicating that the action of looking occurred in the past. The other examples of the inflectional morphemes, okay, are the plural ones, like as in the word games, okay, the plural s, and the possessive, as in John's phone, John's phone, okay. Here we have a possessive word, okay. Why? John's phone. Let's see more in terms of derivational morpheme. What is it? It is another type of bound morphemes. So derivational morpheme creates an entirely new word, like Y on the end of the word cloudy behaves rather differently. So cloud and cloudy behave quite differently and fit into different slots of the sentence. Other examples of derivational morphemes are ness as in happiness, ish as in greenish, and meant as an establishment. So all these are derivational morphemes. Let's see what is the difference between the inflection and derivation. The inflectional endings do not alter the syntactic behavior of an item in any major way. The word still fits into the same slot in the sentence. Inflectional, again, endings can be added on to derivational ones, but not vice versa. We find words such as establishments, but not establish and then meant. Okay, we do have the while the derivational endings that create entirely new words, as we have a cloud and a cloudy. Allomorphs. Let's see the what is meant by allomorphs. Sometimes a morpheme has only one phonological form, but frequently a morpheme has a number of variants known as allomorphs. So the allomorphs may vary considerably. Totally dissimilar forms may be allomorphs of the same morpheme, like cats, dogs, horses, sheep, oxen, geese, all contain the English plural morpheme. Has only one phonological form, but frequently it has a number of variants known as allomorphs. And I said that the allomorphs may vary considerably, as I said. We need to know that there are two ways of conditioning. Okay, what are the conditioning for the allomorphs? We do have the allomorph conditioning. Allomorph is said to be phonologically conditioned when its form is dependent on the adjacent phonemes. An allomorph is said to be lexically conditioned when its form seems to be purely accidental one, linked to a particular vocabulary item. In this way, we do have two ways, at least in this chapter, of phonologically conditioning and lexically conditioning. Let's see what is meant by the phonological conditioning. Okay, before that, we need to know something. Okay, in terms of the morphophonology. What is it? Sometimes we call it morphonology or morphophonology. It is the study of different phonemic shapes of allomorphs. It is the study of the different phonemic shapes of allomorphs. For example, we have is, sa, za, sa, and is are all phonologically conditioned. Allomorphs of the English plural morpheme, that is, each allomorph occurs in a predictable set of environments. It means that we need to know some examples to make it practical. For example, z, that the sound z occurs after most voiced phonemes, as in dogs, lambs, bees. A voiced phoneme is one in which the vocal cords vibrate, as in be, de, ge, ve, and vowels. In the case of sa, occurs after most voiceless phonemes, as in cats, giraffes, skunks. Okay, a voiceless phoneme is the one in which the vocal cords do not vibrate. And then we have is. occurs after sibilants, hissing and hashing sounds, as in horses, cheeses, dishes. Okay, so here are the idea of having some examples for the phonological conditioning. Let's see the lexical conditioning. Lexical conditioning can be shown clearly in words such as oxen, sheep, and geese, as they present a problem. Although they function as plurals in the same way as cats, dogs, they're not marked as plurals in the same way. Such lexically conditioned plurals do not follow any specific, so it means that there is no any specific rule. Each one has to be learned individually. But before that, there are some examples that we should focus on. For instance, words such as oxen, as I said, sheep, geese, can be identified as syntactically equivalent to the cats and dogs type of plural because they fit into the same slot in the sentence. For example, we can say the cats are making a lot of noise. The dogs are making a lot of noise. The horses are making a lot of noise. Oxen are making a lot of noise. Sheep are making a lot of noise, and even the geese are making a lot of noise. Here are, I mean that we need to learn that individually. It means that, for example, we need to know something in terms of oxen. At least oxen, sheep, and geese each contain two morphemes: ox plus plural, and sheep plus plural, and goose plus plural. But when oxen is easily divisible into two, then we're going to have ox plus n. Sheep, again, can be divided into two if a zero suffix is assumed. For example, we have a zero suffix. We need to know what is a zero suffix. Is the convenient linguistic fiction which is sometimes used in the cases of this type. It is normally written, however. So there is no obvious way to analyze geese. At one time, linguists suggested that the plural vowel e in geese, which replaces the u in goose, should be regarded as a special type of allomorph called a replacive one. And they analyze the plural as goose plus e, that would be, or geese or goose. Okay, here are the ideas that we can include in this unit. Please feel free to send your questions. Thank you so much.